Welcome, welcome, Susanne, and our guest today, Patricia Wald Hopkins. I am Deborah LeeAnn, and we are in the fifth week discussing this beautiful light being who we have, who has the name of the Ecstatic Leader. And Susanne, do you want to recap what those gene keys are as we go through her prime gifts?
Yeah, her prime gifts are, and this is gene keys. This is the 46th key, which is delight. And as she moves through her evolution is 25, which is acceptance. And as she then moving through her evolution into her radiance is 15 because she's being magnetic and it's magnetism. And as she anchors that down into the earth, her core purpose is naturalness. So it's absolutely natural for her to live in her delight.
Yep. Just love those. Since like three of those are mine in my my genie prime gifts. So where I'd like to just go in this integration week is we've done a deep dive on each of those four in the last 4 weeks that you can look up and review. But today is like, how do they all fit together in this beautiful pillar of the School of Light? And one of the things that I had written a couple years ago is that the ecstatic leader is a rebel who stands in her beauty and truth, opening and softening into a relaxation that our society has long made wrong or ridiculed it, or we've forgotten it. So we're hearing the call to expand our own creativity, our own capacities to attune and play in this new consciousness. And this is the time to drop into the knowing that we already are all of these things. And so hopefully by playing around with these gene keys and learning to embody them in our own bodies, this archetype of the ecstatic leader will come to life within each of us. That's my dream anyway. So how I want to ask is if there's a how do you want to speak about this in terms of the wholeness or the integration of all of these gifts? Trish, do you have wisdom around this that you would like to share, since you are the creatrix and the mother of these archetypes?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I just throw that at you.
No, I've been just feeling into that as you were speaking, anticipating what the school, what the Gene Keys guardians of the school are wanting me to share about that. And if I know Susanne and Deborah, you know me, and you know that things come to me and I don't know at first what they are. I mean, this whole journey right together has been that way from the get-go, years and years. And so when I received this last pillar, I mean, the way that they came to me, this was the final fifth one. And this one was when I received Venus anchoring into Earth. So this is the center in the way that the school came down through me. You know, the architecture of it came through 5 pillars, and this was the center pillar, the ecstatic leader, and it was bringing your Venus, your goddess, to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what they want me to share about that is exactly what you shared, Deborah, about, you know, it's not what has been the norm for a long time, right? To live like a goddess, right? Goddess energy in delight and in your naturalness and in your natural gifts. And so that center pillar of the ecstatic leader is, for lack of a better term, it is why the School of Light is here. It's why it's here, so that we bring people through ourselves and be role models, and of that we through these initiations of the other 4 pillars that came in, that you have been, you started to work with the truth teller, right? That's one of them. And so there are these portals, these initiations that we invite people to experience if they're called to live like that, to live as Venus, that Venusian energy, the Aphrodite, bringing beauty to earth, heaven to earth. That was the vision. And it came to me in the image that we use for the School of Light. If nobody has seen that yet, you might go check it out. There's it's coming down, Venus is coming down to earth, and there's the pillars around it. And so we're building the temples again, even if they might be etheric. Okay. The other thing I wanted to share about 46, when you brought up earlier, before we got on together, is the devotion to our inner child, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I think that was the transmission, was around that devotion to our goddess self, which is that innocent inner child energy, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of our joy and inner child, Susanne, I'd love for you to take a moment and move into, how do you feel embodiment of this ecstatic leader is being called for right now?
I believe that as we move forward in a new old way of being, because it's ancient, but we're remembering the true delight of living in our bodies. I'm feeling that it is the beingness of the expression of sensing everything within our bodies and not escaping when we tend to want to escape, but holding life in a beautiful way that's gentle and innocent and light and experimental and open and receptive, yet can take the action of just embracing love wherever it goes. And so that type of leadership is very, very soft to me. And open-hearted and compassionate. Yeah. And it's so needed right now.
Agree. And unique and important, as we are all, and I'm just going to speak to this because I'm always the one that speaks from the shadow space. As we feel the intensity of the great change, and it's ramping up daily, hourly, every minute in this time, we need people who are able to drop in and be this mother energy. It doesn't mean that we're so soft that we don't take action, like you very clearly stated. It's like a mother lion. It is like the one who roars when you need to, speaks our truth, like we talked about last month, but also it is this softer, caring and compassionate, and it holds that ability to embrace everything as it is. And that is not the way I was taught. I was taught to move away, to push away, to not feel, to not go there, because that's uncomfortable or ugly. That was a big thing in my family. So I love that we can see the beauty in the non-beauty, that we can learn to return non-love with love. So where I want to go with this is how do we, if we were to look at some practices, and we are going to offer, I just want to put that out there will be a package for you to receive the full activation of this archetype that includes a playbook and a 90-minute masterclass and an anointing oil to help your senses remember this energy within. That will be available in the next week. We're still pulling that together and compiling that. But in the meantime, what would be some practices, if we each kind of draw from our own wisdom, that we can offer to people right now to start feeling what does the ecstatic leader feel like? I mean, to me, when you first told me, Trish, that this was going to be the one I was going to do, I was like, I don't even understand what that is. I mean, it was such a foreign concept. And so now that I'm playing with it for the last 2 or 3 years, I'm like, oh, I'm starting to get it, but it has taken some practice. So I would love to hear from each of you on ideas, ways of tapping into this archetypal energy and feeling it within.
Well, I'll share from my perspective of a lot of times when we think of leaders, it's very head oriented, somebody that's very structured, very, at least in my perspective, a lot of the times where I was growing up, leaders always had their ducks in a row, and it was very matter of fact and very get things done kind of thing. The ecstatic leader for me embraces the sensuality of being in their body. They love life. They start really enjoying and being curious, and all of the senses are attuned to living fully. And that is a very different leadership, because it's, you're not just it's kind of like you put your mind on your shelf and you're really embodying the full essence of what it means to be human and divine.
Yeah. So what do you have a go-to practice or activity or oil or sound or something that you can bring forth just that anchors that in you or helps you to get back into that for you? Because it doesn't mean we live in this space all the time. But we need to remember how to get back, how to return, how to remember who that is.
I'll let Susanne share hers, and there's one that I'll definitely.
I like waking up to no electronics and being with myself and welcoming myself into my body, and really being present to how my breath is, to how the sheets feel on my skin, to kind of welcome my day, to welcome me being present on the earth, and asking, okay, what needs to be done today? What beautiful experience do I get to witness today? So it's kind of like a centering practice, but I wake up and, before I jump out of bed, I put my feet one at a time on the floor, and I literally am feeling my feet on the floor. Because I've been out of my body, most of the time, most night. So here I am on the floor, and I start my day being conscious of the fact that I'm choosing to be here. I'm choosing to be here, and I'm choosing how my life is right in this now moment.
That's pretty beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Love that. Yeah. Oh, are you waiting for me?
Yeah.
I
No, no rush because we're enjoying the process
was enjoying it.
of just hanging together.
I
No
think
worries.
that's a perfect example of the ecstatic leader is enjoying the moment. So one of the things that I often return to, I love, Susanne, that how you start the day. So the one I'm going to share is kind of as you go through the day, is, because, well, maybe for some of you, you don't walk into triggers like, every 30 minutes of the day, depending on what kind of day it is. But it's really bringing yourself back to your senses. Like, I love that, back to your senses, but it's the tact for me, tactile, like, that, or smells. Like, I'll go outside, like before I go and do something where I'm going to make a decision or I'm going to have a conversation with someone. I want to be fully in my body and not lost in my, emotional field, or not lost in my head, and to just really do something pleasurable that brings me back into my body, which could just be sitting outside for 5 minutes if it's, pleasant enough, or even if it's not. I mean, snow has a way of cleansing, your aura, and you're bringing you back in. So just doing something tactile or sensual, the wind, being out in the wind or the rain, or like Susanne said, something soft on you. It just brings you back in. And so that when you go to have the conversation or to make the decision, you're coming from a place of pleasure and softness rather than constriction of the heart or that overly serious mental mind. And you're kind of in that divine child state, right? And then the decision you make or the conversation you have has that energy in it of the ecstatic leader. Like, she's not here to cause pain. She's here to bring nourishment and pleasure and beauty to whatever is next.
Yeah.
I wore my soft shirt today.
I love it. And it matches your background. So,
because that gives me pleasure.
well, absolutely. And it gives us pleasure because I appreciate the beauty, So, very often when I get stuck and I'm in some kind of mind circling like a treadmill that doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, I look up away from my screen, or I walk away from the mess that I'm trying to tackle, the issue, whether it be on the computer or not. And I either go outside or I sit in a different space in my home where I can see out the window. And I have been talking to light lately. I've been noticing the light play, like the sunlight and the shadows on the trees outside, and how it shines through. I've got stained glass windows, and so there's times where the colors come through or the prisms come through, and I just am like, oh hi, oh hi. And it helps me to get into that broader, it's kind of looking at the sky, right? When you have a big vista and you can see almost 270 degrees, it's like, whoa, why was I stuck in this very tiny view of the world when there's all of this? And then when I come back, I'm more refreshed. I'm more able to see things from different perspectives, literally just by picking up and moving my body around. And a lot of times it's, what do I need? Like if I'm constricting or whatever, I'm like, oh, it would really help, or some deep breaths and some water, because you can't drink water and not slow down. Well, we all know what happens when you gulp it. It kind of doesn't work so good. So, and I was told once that I gulp at life. And ever since I heard that, I was like, okay, slow down. So that's one of my ways of slowing down and dropping in and remembering that there's a lot more going on than what I'm seeing in that little tiny computer screen or phone screen or whatever. So this is
Love that.
beautiful. Um, so the other thing that I really want to speak to is the School of Light Collective is a community that has been well, Trish, you're the one that originally invited us all to be a part of that Metamorphics group. And from that was birthed the School of Light Collective. And we're we're in the space of realizing that we are the curriculum. That we are the ones that are learning and growing into these different concepts. And then what happens is when we're together, there's magic always afoot, always. And like when we were watching that masterclass on the ecstatic leader earlier, we were just laughing, Susanne and I, about how ridiculously fun that's. I mean, we were all lit up. I mean, there's something magical about being in community. This is what I want to think about. We don't know exactly how this will go, but the School of Light Collective is designed to be all of us in it, you know, the interaction of everyone, because we are only unlocking each other's genius more and more by hanging out and connecting. So it's truly such a pleasure to hang with you ladies, and beautiful as well. You're both so gorgeous. But the other thing is, how can we share these concepts on a bigger wide? Is there someone else that needs to see this recording? Is there someone else that you would like to share this with and maybe do this work with? Or if there's something that you're stuck on, we're all available to answer questions, because wherever you see this posted, feel free to respond and ask us. We're here. So any other thoughts to add, ladies, as we close our time?
Reiterate that the goddess rooted in earth. There's that quality, right, of that sensuality of bringing your divine self down and rooting into the pleasure of being a human body, like being in this skin, like
Yeah.
that's.
And Susanne, I want you to speak to, because we've been talking about this a lot, about how we've been spending so much years and years of our life and thousands of dollars learning from other people without trusting our wisdom. Do you want to speak to that a little bit, Susanne? Because it is, I think, where we're going now.
Yeah, I sense, and I think it's helpful for us to remember that each one of us has a piece of the pie or piece of the puzzle. And I have recognized that I always figured out that somebody else had the answers for me, right? So here I am seeking somebody else. Hello, Marco Polo, like somebody is out there to have my answers for me. And what has really, truly opened up, and this is why I think the school is really helpful, is because it gives us an opportunity to drop in and really listen to our own heart. And I've done a lot of exploring with tuning into you, which is tuning into me. How can I better tune into me and tune into the frequency that I am here to embody? And so having these light beings supporting us in the School of Light, their essences are beautiful and light filled and remind us of who we truly are as a light being that is now embodied on earth doing his or her work. And so that's it in a nutshell. And this is, remembering ourselves, remembering that we are truly divine beings, having this gorgeous opportunity to explore what it is to be human, and how can we drop in? How can each one of us drop into our hearts and live from that Venetian, is that the word? Venus, Venetian, Venus love in our bodies.
Absolutely. So we typically, close with just an appreciation and thank you for being here and much love. And till our next time together, take excellent care of that beautiful self that you are, that ecstatic leader within you. So.
Thank you.